Good evening. Two events, the Madrid Conference and the Russian Conference of People's Deputies. The results of the Madrid Conference are being awaited throughout the whole world, since the balance of power has changed with the fall of the USSR. President Bush sees Gorbachev as a valuable ally. We're preparing materials for our report about Madrid. We will start with the Russian Parliament. In the halls of the Russian Parliament, deputies continue discussing the issue of whether Yeltsin will be given extreme emergency powers. Such powers might be received by Yeltsin. That's why Hezbollah was picked as the chairman of the Supreme Soviet. Supreme Court members were sworn in today. It can start working right away. Another important step towards a legal government. This Hezbollah, the chairman of the Supreme Soviet of the Russian Republic Parliament. What other important issues do we have left? This is the changes into the Constitution, discussion of a whole series of economic and social problems. Everybody wants to know what will be the relations between the Russian Parliament and the presidential authorities. Yes, we are both concerned about the situation in our nation. We have common methods to liquidate problem areas and to improve the material situation of the people. The Supreme Soviet must be strong, a strong legislative organ with its own tactics, own perspectives, and own views. We must cooperate with the president. This morning, deputies heard Yeltsin's appeal to expand his powers, to give him emergency powers which might even contradict the laws of Russia. Deputies blamed Yeltsin at attempts to usurp power, but some supported Yeltsin. He offers changes in the formation of executive power, changing the relationship between Parliament and the President. I agree to these changes because the circumstances right now, you have at the head of the government a lot of trust. Yeltsin's discussion about free prices. In the Kuzbas area, the prices are free already, and people cannot survive with free prices. So when people are saying that prices will be absolutely free, no one will be able to implement any kind of reform. This is Mr. Sokolov. We have very serious work for economic reform, which will either help us out of the crisis or will sink us. At the same time, Yeltsin's representatives are traveling abroad to discuss his program, economic program. Yeltsin is sending the Russian foreign minister to the US and officials to Germany, Italy, and England. Representatives to Poland, Sweden, and Finland, Japan, and other nations. The Soviet Western the mass media is commenting on Yeltsin's plan. They're saying that there's positive response in the USSR to Yeltsin's proposals. Free prices must help the growth of the economy. But with deficits everywhere, will free prices really help, or will they hinder the process? This interviews about people's relation to price unfreezing. I will talk to old ladies and how they will make ends meet, students, and how they will feed themselves. But I do not want to have these interviews. We know what the answer is to these interviews. The sales clerk has an unexpected answer. They should have raised the prices by 300 rubles. Yeltsin's call for unfreezing prices has raised confusion throughout the whole nation. No one knows what will happen. The preparation for the documents will prepare right after the Congress, and it will oversee protection of those who are not wealthy. Some people predict a complete failure of the economy. Others see Yeltsin's reforms as the only solution to our problems, to their problems. We asked a leading economist Shmylov for his evaluation. Mr. Shmylov, any system will require for the prices to be unfrozen. You cannot have a market economy without unfreezing prices. You cannot establish state prices. That is impossible. This transitional period must have unfrozen prices. I'm against ration cards, but people must not starve. Perhaps 5 or 10 commodities must be rationed out. Talent cards. A new note is introduced into the USSR, a 200 ruble note. This note will cost $6, a 200 ruble note. Rumors about 50 and 100 ruble notes being frozen are false and detrimental. 50 ruble and 100 ruble notes will be accepted everywhere, and rumors about their elimination are false. The situation in the republics. 47-year-old General Jahar Dudayev, officially the official victor, as president of the Chechen Republic this Sunday. The Chechen parliament has not been formed yet. With president in the parliament chosen, the political situation should relax in this area. At the Freedom Square and the square of Sheikh Mansoura, there are political rallies which are for the Chechen Republic, or others are for the Chechen Ingush Republic. Union Inter-Republic Department to support enterprise, economic enterprise, was supported today. This committee, November 1st, will discuss the structure and status of a new union structure, an Inter-Republic Economic Committee, which will be created in correspondence with an agreement signed by the 8 republics participating in the economic unity. The leaders of the Ukraine and Russia declared agreement on basic principles in approaching the resolution of their problems. Exchange of opinions in Kiev about the development of Russian-Ukrainian relations. A communique was signed between the 2 republics. The Ministry of Defense of the Ukraine, Morozov, and the chairman of the Committee of Security, Kobets, from the Russian side, held discussions in Kiev and discussed the nuclear arsenals and central control of the nuclear arsenals. The Russian delegation was happy to hear a declaration of the Ukraine's non-nuclear status. Yeltsin's initiative today had a telephone call with the leader of Latvia. They discussed bilateral economic relations and the protection of the Russian language population in Latvia and near-term economic cooperation. Gorbanov and Yeltsin, the leaders of the 2 republics, discussed future agreements between the 2 republics as 2 sovereign states. An official delegation will be formed for the preparation of this interstate agreement. In Yerevan, the Minister of Defense, Shapashnikov, arrived in Armenia, met with the President of Armenia, Petrosyan. The goal of this visit was not officially announced. A strike in Sukhumi railroad strike. The causes were protests against the local officials who did not provide the material necessities for the workers of the railroads. but the victims are the passengers. Some people use the railroads to further own interests at the expense of others. The Northern Caucasian railroad system has a 5 million ruble loss in the last 3 years due to these strikes. Tashkent, the head of Uzbekistan met with the leaders of Caucasian areas, met with the Cyprus president. President of Cyprus met with Soviet officials today to discuss the Cyprus problems and economic cooperation. It's a report on Madrid. And the Madrid